How you do this blanket thing?
There's a blank
Hit the
button.
button.
Oh, I
that
see
says
it.
button as in one.
It's magic. Okay.
You ready? Okay, so how many of y'all go out to eat once a week? I'm not talking about those late night runs to Whataburger. I'm talking about a sit-down restaurant.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense because according to Rasmussen reports, about 58% of the average American goes out to eat at least once a week. And I probably do that more than the average person because I just really like to eat out. Now, every time you go out to eat at a sit-down restaurant, you have a server, and this server brings your food, your drinks, checks up on you, and brings you the check. And at the end of the meal, you tip your server a good tip if they were great, and maybe a not so good tip if they were bad. But the common denominator is you always tip them. If you're a kind person, you do at least. But what if tipping is not exactly what we think it is? What if it's actually causing more harm than it is good? So, today we're going to talk about a problem, how to solve it, and visualize what would happen if we changed this in our world. So, according to the Department of Labor, restaurants in the U.S. pay servers less than the minimum wage, as low as about $2 an hour. And this is only because we allow tipping in the United States. If we didn't allow tipping, it wouldn't be like this, because technically this is considered illegal under the minimum wage. Now you might be saying this was a pretty good deal if you're making less, or if you're making more than the minimum wage by getting tips. But what if you have a slow day? And what if you have rude customers who just don't want to give you anything, and you're making about $4 to $5 an hour? You're basically making little pay, and you're doing lots of work. So why are they allowed to pay? So you would think if you were a good server, you'd be getting good pay, right? But according to Michael Lynn of Cornell University, the School of Hotel Administration, research shows that only 2% of the difference between tips left by different parties can be explained by the quality of service. So no matter how good of a server you are, you're gonna get tipped the same, which seems crazy because we usually do, but in the end, doesn't make that much of a difference. And this part is really disturbing. So when you're allowed to tip, the patrons are allowed to decide how much money this person makes or how much they don't. So this allows people's biases and discriminations to come out. Michael Lynn also said white servers are consistently tipped more than black servers across the board. And so this is a form of discriminatory pay, and this discriminatory pay is illegal. So by allowing tipping, we're allowing people to be discriminated against in the workplace, and it goes against everything we fought for in our United States. So in summary, tipping allows people to be paid way under the minimum wage, and also allows people's prejudices to come out in service. But how do we solve this problem? The best way to solve the problem is for restaurants to enforce a flat rate pay as minimum wage and eliminate tipping altogether. Now this might seem a little hard, but if you give your servers minimum wage, it eliminates the need for tipping. And these people won't be discriminated against, and they won't be underpaid drastically. By raising the pay, okay, one thing you may not like, all of you sitting here, is by raising the server's pay, it also is raising the price of each meal. But in reality, it actually doesn't change the price of your meal that much. It's just showing you the rate up front because you're not adding on the extra $3 to $5 at the end when you tip. So in the end, it all equals about the same. Now by raising server pay to minimum wage and eliminating tipping, this would eliminate all the problems of discriminatory pay because the patrons are no longer allowed to decide what this server gets paid. Each person gets paid the same. And it would eliminate people having to worry about like selling themselves to customers and really trying hard to make sure the people give them money. So you might be wondering, what would our world look like if we just eliminated tipping and had a flat rate pay? And for that, we're going to look at Australia. Because in Australia, the average server makes about $12.28 Australian dollars, which is $8.95 American dollars. And they do not tip. It's not illegal, but it's definitely not custom. And so this allows people to have a steady income and allows people to know where their money's coming from, no discriminatory in anything. And also, for you guys, it eliminates that math lesson at the end of your meal where you have to figure out what 20% of what you just ate was, and it eliminates all that confusion on what's a good tip, what's a bad tip. It just takes that out altogether. So also by allowing the servers to understand get good money and not be discriminated against, it also makes your meal a little bit more convenient. Now, you've become aware that tipping is a problem for underpaying and discriminating against. So what can we do about it? So this is a pretty new problem and most people aren't really aware of what's going on. So I think the easiest way we can do it is support companies that are already doing these things, that are already raising the minimum wage. And the one I could find that is closest to us and most relevant is Joe's Crab Shack. So next time you're in the mood for seafood, maybe hit up Joe's Crab Shack because they seem to be on the right path. And there's a lot more restaurants popping up in the trendier areas like New York and Austin and Chicago, and those trends will make their way down to Houston if we support those places and if we talk about this problem. So I encourage you to go try Joe's Crab Shack, and maybe next time you're in Austin, hit up one of those restaurants.